Okay, we are live. Let's
Hey,
let's hang out for a bit. So I have the distinct pleasure of hosting this gathering of fine gentlemen, along with the Bear and Mr. Weston Adam. So let's let yeah, you were first in here, Zach. So I've got the TikTok chat pulled up. I guess you can see that too, right, Chris? Oh no, you can't because you're just in the
no,
restream.
no. So I'll just be all on my lonesome here. It's fine.
All right, I will. I'll keep us all up to speed um, on the chat. We'll wait for some folks to jump in. Chris, show everybody that thing you just showed me. That gorgeous monstrosity.
Oh, this thing.
Look at that.
So yeah,
That's
Angie,
amazing.
it's like an old school Avon bottle. It looks like a dog, I think, like a mopey dog, and
Looks like a
the
hound, like a bloodhound. Yeah,
yeah
yeah.
sound, and it opens up to here, and obviously it's supposed to be a pipe, and it smells really nice too. The thing with these though is a lot of them smell the same, like exactly the same from this age. They just kind of took a fragrance style or genre and they just repackaged it in different bottles, which, it's cool. She also sent me this other one that's like an old Model T car.
Oh
It's
yeah,
really,
yeah. Those are yeah. They've got a bunch of like different car variations. Yeah,
yeah.
they're famous for those. Cool. Rebecca said, I thought you wouldn't be live on TikTok. That was Jamie. That was a misunderstanding. We're simul streaming. So, for everybody who is on TikTok, um, there is a universal problem going on with Restream. My apologies. If you don't like the TikTok view, you can watch the better quality stream on YT. Uh, it is Mr. and Mrs. Sniff. Yep, we are on TikTok. I see you've moved over, Rebecca. Yeah, TikTok's being super weird. It is. It's not better for us, Zach. It's up to you. You guys will get a better view instead of like a view of a view. You'll get the actual view if you're on the YouTube or Instagram stream. So it is on both YouTube and Instagram. Zach, are you a mod? I think you're a moderator. Yes, you've now moved over to YouTube. So hi Brady Frags. Kruthik is here. Welcome, gents. All right, let me figure out if I can type in. I don't even know how to chat in here. Where's the chat?
Isn't that usually Jamie's job?
It is. Hence, okay. So I'm going to try to pin a comment here. It is at Mr. and Mrs. Sniff on YT and IG for a better view of the stream. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to see if I can pin that now. Pin. Okay, it's pinned. All right, cool. All right. So yeah, lots of people jumping in on YouTube. Great. Okay, I'm glad you guys made that work. The grizzled bear is now the smooth chiseled bear,
Oh man,
says
that's
Zach.
the worst haircut in the universe.
Psychoaster. Of course, everybody's names are different, so I don't know who I'm talking to. Says, I love St. John the Forerunner and Truth and Method. It was hard for me to not get Truth and Method in my multi-bottle grab that I just did. That one's going to be one of the next. I mean, you guys see all of these? These will all become bottles at
Truth
some
and
point.
actually my
Yeah.
favorite for
Um,
for
so everybody knows you, Bear, but you want to give a little bit of intro just in case.
yeah.
Not that people know me any better than they know you, but
So I'm just some random guy who uh, stumbled onto Jamie and Noah's TikTok page a little while ago, and they kind of inspired me to do more content and just because the community seemed really positive overall, and sometimes a lot of communities can be slightly toxic, but the perfume community seemed to be very positive a lot. So I was like, hey, what the hell? And I did it, and it was really fun. And I've been enjoying sharing a lot of my passion with fragrances. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I was thinking about doing it forever and ever. And then when I saw the way you did your channel, Noah, it really inspired me because a lot of the TikTok creators were like, they would take a bottle and be like, oh, you do that
Yeah.
thing. And I just was like, that's fine for like a quick 2-minute video, but I really liked the long form content that you had to offer, and just doing a more deeper dive into things. And it's kind of counterintuitive to what TikTok is designed for, but
Yep.
I think it's finding an audience. So
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Agreed. Yeah. I remember when you weren't really doing anything, Jamie and I were thrilled to see you finally dove into it. So, Weston, have you ever had the great pleasure of engaging in TikTok fragcom?
I can't say that I have. No, no.
So this is a first for you, but you're on the polite receiving end. You're not on the user interface end. So you're not you're not quite getting the full Monty, but good enough for a first round. So
yeah,
obviously we're
what do you think of the new JPG Elixir? You
yeah,
know,
right. Yeah. Well, that's funny. That was going to be one of my first questions, actually. Like, Weston, do you even smell modern perfume? Do you have a frame of reference for it? Well, maybe you do, because you told me something when we were kind of backstage for a minute that I was unaware of. So I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, well, so yeah, so I've got so my full time job. I'm a perfumer for a company that basically does just kind of online sales. They're not really in stores or anything like that, but we did stuff on Amazon for a long period of time, and then kind of moved away from that. Primarily because my boss didn't really like the business practices of Amazon, and just kind of the way it treats everyone and takes care of things in kind of a poor manner. So we moved away from there. But yeah, I work for a company as a full time perfumer in house, and then I run my own brand, kind of on the side, and then I also have been working on kind of a local perfume job for a couple of years now, and that'll probably continue for quite some time for the foreseeable future. So
So that's what I didn't realize, that you're a full time perfumer times three. You have three perfuming jobs.
are you
yeah,
doing that now?
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
wow, what
yeah.
I
house?
So
I had no idea.
yeah. Yeah, it all happened by accident too. Because I mean, I didn't go to school for perfume. I went to school for philosophy and art. Um, I basically didn't really think. I mean, grew up in a house that was kind of, we weren't necessarily poor, but we weren't super well off. Nobody in the house really wore anything. My dad had an Old Spice aftershave, and my grandmother wore Chanel number 5 occasionally, basically only on really nice outings. But yeah, we I was in a noise band that I'm still kind of in. I mean, we just haven't put anything out for quite a while. But
What is a noise band?
what is a noise band? Yeah, it's yeah, basically music that focuses kind of largely on texture at the expense of almost everything else. So it's
Like rhythm or harmonics or
yeah, yeah. It's
Well, you
kind of
can
like
have rhythm and harmonics in noise bands as like an underlining tone, but
yeah, yeah, that's true. It can be there, yeah. And it's like
huh.
yeah, basically if you didn't think black metal was like intense enough, the folks who thought that like that could be pushed even further,
Yeah.
where noise kind of came in. It actually came from like punk. It's like more of a punk thing than it is a metal thing. But
Fascinating. I'm like 47 years old and I'm learning something new. This is great. Yeah.
yeah, I mean that started on early for me. I was listening when I was in middle school. I was listening to like John Zorn and Naked City and all sorts of stuff like that.
Oh,
Just my father is like the first time my father came into my room and said he hit me with the classic. That's not music. That's just noise. And it was kind of hard to push my
but
dad in that direction because he went to metal shows and stuff with me.
so you must have a lot of stuff from Ipecac
Yeah,
record.
yeah,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was kind of my. I mean, pretty much anything that was really crazy was really like Captain Beefheart was my favorite band for a long time. Uh, like Trout Mask Replica and like Clean as Milk and all that. Bat Chain Puller, all that was vital to me growing up. So
See,
it's
guys, this is why my psychic wife said, I don't think I should be there tonight.
Oh,
yeah. I mean,
I love Jamie's perspective, even when it's totally out of left field,
Right.
because sometimes you just need that to like refocus or reground everything. But
Sure.
um, yeah, but no, yeah, I can see why she kind of didn't want to.
I mean, this is
yeah.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about, but I love it. Continue.
So
Yeah.
I
My
used
wife
to
is kind of the
play.
same.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. I was just saying my wife is kind of the same way, a grounding
Jake.
principle for me.
Yeah.
When I grew up, I was in a bunch of bands. Nothing. The only band, and you might have heard of them. Have you ever heard of Converge?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I played bass for them for a while back in like
No joke.
right out of high school. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Holy
So
crap.
I've been around the block. So yeah, I've done a couple of things. Like I still talk to them. One of my best friends' band is Caven. I don't know if you've ever heard of Caven.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Very
so,
cool.
yeah. They're from Methuen. They're from the town I grew up in, like literally.
Mm.
So yeah.
So, somebody says, I love Weston Adam. I love this guy. And this is Wittgenstein Enjoyer. So, uh, somebody's right up your alley,
Yeah.
unless that's a relative or something. Um, David says The Call of the Wretched Sea is a masterpiece. This is a whole damn house full of masterpieces, quite frankly,
Yeah.
if you guys are not familiar. Christian is here. Hello, Christian. Jonah's here. What's up, gents? Zach, being ever the character that he is, has joined the most niche and esoteric live perfume live of all time, and he has said this.
My phone's too far.
which I deeply appreciate.
Nice,
Yeah,
Depends
nice.
on Valentino you're talking about, I guess.
yeah. We're in a world now where now your perfumes aren't nearly as exotic as I thought, given all of the musical references that you're making. These feel a little bit mainstream compared to this other thing.
Yeah.
Wittgenstein Enjoyer says Phronema is one of my all-time favorite houses. It's
Oh.
getting there pretty darn quick for me. It's moved
It's
up the
funny.
ranks.
As soon as I saw your house name and the way it looked, I'm like, wow, this house looks metal. And that was my first thought. I was like, and then I saw what you were into, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But that actually kind of segues into a question I wanted to ask: is that your creative outlet that you used, growing up playing music? How did you like embody that into your perfumery? Because I feel like there's a lot of different aspects of you in your perfume.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I basically the two art forms that I really got into the earliest on was I did music pretty much immediately as soon as I figured out how to start hitting stuff, and then after that I kind of I was reading philosophy basically at like kind of like really early on, 11 or 12,
I was
10.
going to say you got into this at like 11, didn't you? Yep.
Yeah, well, yeah. I had extremely strong stomach problems when I was a kid. So basically, by the time I hit by the time I was about 9 or 10, I was fairly convinced, like ongoing, that I was going to die within kind of the next 2 years. So
Oh my,
it was like yeah, basically I was having panic attacks all the time. But my family is kind of they're born to kind of foreigners a little bit, so it's like I don't necessarily know that they knew how to um, deal with like anxiety and depression and all these things that I was kind of dealing with early on. Uh, so I found philosophy very early on. Both of those two things, philosophy kind of gave me at least a way to start kind of trying to understand how I was like death and all the things that I was feeling, and kind of terror. And then music kind of gave me the equal and opposite movement to be able to just kind of like blast that out of me, and then
Yeah.
get back
yeah,
to the purpose of reading and trying to discover this.
that's
And yeah, those kind of gave me the tools of experimentation, really, that like where kind of the intellectual and the like physical kind of became one cycle, one part of the same cycle. And so that really was basically what I took into every art project that I underwent when I was doing sculpture and painting and all this in university. It was basically following the same identical structure that I'd been doing since I was in early middle school, where it was just kind of like in a heightened state of panic constantly, and then in just like, well, I'm gonna die soon anyway, so I might as well try to understand and express what this life force is that I'm dealing with as best I can. So it's just that kind of cycle getting bigger and bigger and bigger as I just got older and access to more things.
Do you have any specific perfumes that you've created that channel that, like, do you think really well?
Uh, I mean, that embody kind of the experimental mode. Probably like the weirdest one is actually Call of the Wretched Sea. Um, Actually, you know what? I take that back. Excuse me. Probably Cave, the Holy Cave of the Apocalypse. Most of that, almost, I would say, in the final formulation, probably about 85% of that is something that I dreamt about, that I had a dream
Really?
where I was composing a fragrance. And when I woke up, like most of the actual composition was like right here in my mind. So I just grabbed a pen and paper real quick so I didn't forget what I was doing in my dream. And I kind of just said, I wonder if it'll work. And I went to the office that morning, and my coworkers were kind of like, "That smells insane. I have no idea what you're doing." And it wound up being so much raw frankincense. Before I add ethanol to the composition, the you can take the amber around and move it on its side, and it won't
Yeah,
move
yeah.
just that thick with frankincense resin.
Wow.
Do you
And
have that, Noah? Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
no,
I'm
I'm sorry.
sitting here looking through. Let me clear the comment here. You guys can see I've literally got, like, I don't know, 20 cent. I thought I had the whole house, but I don't actually have either of those two. I don't have Wretched Sea. I know that I did at some point, but I must have blown through that sample pretty quick. Um, and
Holy
then
Cake was the first.
I don't have Holy Cave of the Apocalypse. Anyway, I do not. So
That sounds like a black metal album title. I was like, I have to try that. So
yeah, is that what you've got there, Holy Cave?
yeah, yeah. As I've people have seen, I have all 15 mLs. I I have gluttonously taken Weston's time and energy to have him send me many 2 ml decants, and slowly over time, I have amassed quite a collection, actually.
You
So,
know,
and
I'll just do bottle splits with you, dude, and we can save Weston a lot of time.
yeah, and it just came down to, like, after I got a bunch of your samples, I was like, man, I want to smell all of these, but I can't. I mean, they're not. Your prices are not crazy. They're not out of control
No,
at
they're
all.
very fair.
And but when you're gonna buy 5 or 6, that
Yeah, that adds up pretty quick.
yeah adds up pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I was like, what if I just did this? And I kind of already started doing it. And like these specific bottles are my Weston Adam Phronema bottles and Phronema bottles. And I know like which ones it is. And I can tell some of your perfumes by just the color, like, just by how dark the juice is and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
So,
yeah.
so Weston, you're diving into all of this sort of philosophy and existentialism, and it's beginning to express through various art forms. When does perfumery join the parade?
Yeah. So yeah, that was, thanks for bringing me back to that. Yeah, when I was in that noise band, it was called Men Behind the Sun, and we were in the studio working on our new record, and my collaborator had just come in from the gym, and he was smelling like hell, and he sprayed Encre Noir on him, and then went into the studio and left the bottle of it back in the booth with me, and it kind of I was startled by it. I've never smelled anything like that in my life,
Yeah.
and he and I kind of grew up together, so we were just kind of like brothers at this point. And so he just left it there, and I just immediately kind of took it and opened it up, and was not really paying attention to what I should have been paying attention to. I was basically lost in the Encre Noir, just thinking like basically it hit me that like this is a form of art that I've never thought about for half a second, because it's just never been a part of my world. And he came back in, and I said, show me where to buy this. And he
Mhm.
goes, I'll buy you a bottle. It's no big deal. It's like $20.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy how like amazing the whole Ancre line is and how unique they are compared to what most houses are doing, and they're so ridiculously affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at that time I was basically, so I was uh, working pretty crazy to go to school and to live and all this, but I never really, I was kind of one of those folks who could live off of next to nothing and kind of brag about it, like H.P. Lovecraft did forever ago. And that's kind of how I felt. I was like still under the impression that I was going to die soon, so it just kind of didn't really matter. So I just kind of skipped spending money on stuff that was important, like food or whatever else, to buy perfume, and kind of just
The
start.
real luxuries like food and shelter.
Yeah,
And it's funny,
yeah,
but you get that vibe from the Holy Cave of the Apocalypse, because this smells beautiful, but it has this menacing petrichor note in the background that is just slowly creeping up on you the entire time, and it's crazy to wear too. Like
All right.
this is one I can't
Convince
wear
me.
my partner here because he does not like the smell of petrichor at all. Not a fan of that one.
So how old were you when this took place? You were at college. You were in college. You said.
I was in college. Yeah, I was. It was probably. I think I was about 19. I might have been going on 20, but probably 19 years old, right around then. And yeah, I kind of just I was, so I went to university at the University of Iowa, so there's not really a lot of penetration of the outside world. Kind of, it's pretty isolating there. They have a really beautiful philosophy department and a really beautiful art department, so it's basically like perfect for where I was supposed to be, but just I was cut off from a lot of the world, especially as I said, moving from Denver. It was a really crazy change from one to the other. It's also cold as hell there. It's like it feels inhuman how cold it can possibly get in Iowa. The first time I showed up, I had a windbreaker on for winter at a gas pump, and it was like the worst winter they'd had in, I guess they said, like 50 years or something like that. It was like -30 with wind chill, and it was just. I got out of the car, and I just literally remember thinking to myself, like, I have no idea
Really,
what.
the wind, right? Isn't it the wind? Because it's all flat, so you get a lot of like
Oh
wind.
yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah, coming straight from Illinois. Yeah, it's just like grizzly. And so um I didn't have any like department stores or anything like that to go to really to smell perfume. So kind of what I wound up doing was just kind of blind buying stuff based on watching some of the really early YouTube video stuff of people kind of just saying, hey, this is a good cheapie, here's some random obscure Arabic perfume or whatever, and you can buy it on this really fishy looking website. And that's kind of just what I did, is just bought everything that I thought looked cool or wild or different. And
So you did start as a collector. You got into it from
oh
a okay.
yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
What was besides Ancre Noir? What was like one of your first purchases that you remember?
Um, Boy, that's a good question. I remember the first like bigger purchase that I did was that I had got a bottle of oh, it is by Killian.
Oh
It
wow,
it is
dark.
one of their fragrances that's like it's supposed to be marijuana based, but it totally doesn't smell like marijuana in the slightest. It's just basically kind of here. I can hold on. I'll be able to tell you in half a second.
I'll catch up here. Fragrance fan says, I miss my St. John. I had 16 of 25. Fragrance fan. I don't get you guys getting rid of your St. John, but you got to do what you got to do, I suppose.
Yeah,
Hi, Ange. Lovely to see you. Everybody, is my post still pinned in TikTok? The one that lets people know that they can join via IG and YT if they want a better view. Dabbid is asking Weston, what's your favorite of the new set of perfumes that you recently released? And I'd love when people always ask parents what their favorite child is.
Yeah, of the new set, I'm gonna say it's got to be No Longer Human.
Dude, yes.
Yeah, it's very weird composition that took me a long time to come around to. It's
Yeah.
kind of yeah. There you go.
So good. I mean, this was the one that jumped out immediately to me.
yeah.
So guys, real quick, we just got the live restricted, I think because of the MJ word. No,
I'm so sorry. Oh man.
no, it's okay.
I
It's
was
okay.
that no.
It just means that everybody who's here is here. It won't be up for recommendation, which is again not a problem. Yeah, this is one of the things I had to learn very quickly on TikTok.
It was Smoke for the Soul, by the way, is the name of the bike.
I've literally never even heard that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like the MJ word and then eucalyptus and mate and birch and tobacco and all this. But basically it's like a if you think of just the dry down of Terre d'Hermes, but you kind of make it a lot more sharp to the point that it's kind of a little bit violent at first. That's basically what it is.
okay.
Uh, and that kind of actually that same kind of like sensory sharpness that I got from that initially is kind of what I was part of what I was trying to do a little bit with No Longer Human, is basically get labdanum to kind of do the same thing where it spikes up so intensely. And actually uh basically the part of the one of the perfume things that I'm doing right now is I'm working with the Missouri Botanical Garden and Sean Mayer, who's an amazing perfumer in his own right. He's another local guy, and I'll talk about that later. But anyways, basically one of the inspirations for one of the things that we were doing is we were smelling real rock rose there. We were smelling the plant live as it was emitting all this really thick, beautiful oil all over the stalks of the plant. And kind of when I smelled that, I said, I have to try to take that and into consideration and make a much more beautiful labdanum scent than
Yeah, this is stunning. People often ask me what my favorite ingredient is or note, and I will often say labdanum. Like I could literally just wear pure labdanum resinoid and be
Yeah,
happy. And
and
so I smelled this and I went, "Hallelujah!" I'm
yeah,
saved. I mean, it is just screaming labdanum.
yeah.
But
When I
really, like you said, like what you kind of did there, like it does. It's like piercing
mm,
and diffusive and all of these things that you don't normally think of or associate with labdanum. Um,
yeah.
I put one spray of this on. And Jamie just, this was like 20 minutes later. Jamie walks in the room. She's like, "My God, what smells so good?" It was us.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think all your newer releases. This one's pretty new. No Longer Human. It's only been
Yep.
out for like a year or two, right?
Yep.
And so the last order I ordered a bunch of your new stuff because you just dumped like 6 new fragrances all at once, and I'm like, oh my word! And this one and the Saint Joseph the Hesychast Cave, that one really stood out to me. Those two are just like, I feel like that you've definitely gone up. I don't want to say you achievement unlocked, I guess is the best word thing I could think of. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it just felt like you're just taking your compositions and you're just kind of going in a completely different direction. It still has that deep, dark, and mysterious vibe that a lot of your fragrances have, but it's just actually a really beautiful fragrance.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things that I try. I mean, like we were saying earlier, the idea about all these obscure things that I'm really into, but then the music or the fragrance that I make are not necessarily as like impenetrable as some of the stuff that I like, and I think part of that is also like I wore a little bit of that out when I was a little bit younger. The first book that I wound up writing,
Wait, you write
like
books too?
yeah, yeah. I mean, being a
Casually throws that out there. All right.
well, because yeah, philosophy.
You're like a master thespian.
I mean, I just like a lot of stuff. Is all. Like I mean, just being when I was younger, I didn't sleep a lot as well because I mean, usually I mean, not to sound over dramatic or whatever, but like you get these weird, psychological responses to the idea about dying.
Yep.
So like when I was younger, I was certain that like sleep was going to be one of the like inciting incidents that was going to lead to death. So just kind of try to stave it off as much as possible. So I had a lot more time than a lot of my friends did to just kind of be by myself. And when you're already near depression and anxiety, like you want to kind of find a way to move away from those as much as possible. And that, so did a lot of writing early on and like, cause you can't play music while everybody else is sleeping. I've yet to whittle, but
All right, we found one. He sculpts,
yeah,
but he doesn't whittle.
I basically started writing my first book when I was in university, trying to come to terms a little bit with the idea of ideology because, well, part of the key issue about the thing when it comes to dying is trying to understand how I can like know anything at all, and especially when you're facing the prospect of death, the question of like attachment to like permanent truth is also really significant. So it took me 10 years to write my first book because I was kind of rewriting and rewriting. There was probably by the time it was done, I had probably expelled about 600 or so pages from the book, and it wound up being about 400 pages in the end. That's how much like rewriting it, but it was over the course of 10 years, so it's really not like I mean that's a
Sure.
long time to be writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Which
what
which epistemological camp are you in?
uh yeah, I mean, well now I'm a committed Orthodox Christian, so I fall pretty firmly into the epistemological positions held by, for instance, Saint Isaac the Syrian and Saint Maximus the Confessor, and a lot of these great and actually part of what led me into them was reading like Martin Heidegger and reading strangely enough like Giles Deleuze and folks like these. Partially because I feel like they got really close to the truth, but I mean, even themselves, they changed themselves so much towards the latter half of their lives that, like Martin Heidegger, basically retreated from pursuing being at all and just started writing poetry essentially towards the end of his life. Yeah,
Tapped out. Yeah.
yeah. Which I get it. All right, all right. We have there's another sordid word that we could talk about in his past that will probably get our stream double banned. So I won't go uh, but yeah, I mean, so the first book that I wrote, when I published it, I was thinking to myself basically like, yeah, I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. I'm like extremely happy with the book, and like I self-published it. I didn't really care about what people were interested in saying about the book, because I wrote it so that I would understand where I sat in relation.
Right.
And but basically, I got a lot of people who like I respected, but I didn't necessarily know. But they reached out to me and said, "Hey, I love this, but like this is extremely taxing to like try to put in the effort to see what you're saying, because you're just writing in a very opaque style." And like so when I was younger, that didn't so much matter to me, because I was dealing with death. But kind of once I came to the point where I actually got a lot of my health situation kind of in a much better space, and um, and then by the time I actually, had gotten married and all of these things, like it was something that I never thought I'd be able to do, because I thought I was going to die, so I wasn't even really trying to do that. Basically, my perspective had changed so much, where the interest to me is also kind of communal and relational in its foundation. So it's kind of like, if I'm just doing it for myself, then it's kind of a little bit worthless to me now. I've kind of flipped on that perspective, but really that couldn't have happened without kind of. I'm not trying to pretend like, oh, I've conquered death or anything like that, but initially challenging that perspective that I had, that was so fear-inducing and crippling and brutal for such a long early part of my life.
Yeah. I mean, conquering death is, maybe not, but conquering the fear of death is no small feat. I mean,
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
You encountered it obviously, far more dramatically than most people do. For most people, it just kind of lives somewhere in the back of the unconscious and subtly drives behaviors where they're not in touch with what's going on. You were not so lucky, I guess, or maybe you were so lucky, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I went when I went to kind of therapy, kind of after I'd gotten out of my first round of solving stuff, and I remember distinctly the therapist that I saw at the time, and I didn't really trust a lot of therapy folks. I was actually, like, psychology wise, I was interested in Jacques Lacan and a lot of these kind of later psychoanalysts, and so um, kind of a lot of the psychoanalytic or just psychological institutions that kind of gave up on what I saw as the most important truths that psychologists had uncovered. It really did not have a lot of respect or like interest from me. But my therapist, who I wound up loving and who saved me in a lot of respects, she was a really wonderful woman. She said to me initially, I think it was the second visit that I had with her, she said, well, at the very least, can you say that you appreciate like everything that you've gone through, because it's made you who you are, and you wouldn't care for the things that you care for, and you wouldn't like have all these things that excite you if it wasn't for all of this, perhaps. And I distinctly remember looking at her and saying, no, hell no. Like I'm not thankful for that at all. Like I would have rather died.
Haven't you been listening to what I've been saying?
Yeah. Yeah, it took forever for me to get there, but that was crazy early on to hear that. I was like, you have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. When you've experienced things that your therapist has no context for, that's a tough spot to be in. Yeah. That's
yeah.
Somebody in here, Lewis, says, I'm an insomniac and a philosophy lover, so this is so cool.
Oh, wow.
You're in the right place. Rap Cinco says, I think writing books and being a poet and making perfume goes hand in hand. Ken says he needs Jamie to appear. Ken's getting sick of looking at us.
I understand that.
Ken also previously asked about a potential return of St. John.
That was one of my.
I believe the answer to that is negative.
Correct.
This is like a culmination of a bunch of different things, isn't it? Like you don't
Yeah.
even know what the formula is for this?
No.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the composition to that was it happened over the course of 4 years and some change. I was working originally for that to be a limited release for American Perfumer. We were talking early on about doing some kind of collaborative work, and it just didn't work out for a lot of different reasons. And I basically said, I'll just release it, whatever. And it can't come back for multiple reasons. The first reason, yeah, is obviously just that I don't know what's totally in it. I was composing with the end ingredients of the things that I found most precious. So instead of like, when I had the last, 0.5 mils or whatever of the Cambodian oud I was using in another composition, I would save it and work slowly just with the sense of smell to kind of shape this ambiguous perfume. And that's what wound up happening.
That's crazy.
It's amazing. It's really,
and also
really good.
It's just rude to re-release fragrances that you tell people are limited. I think I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man. I knew I was in the right place. I found you like right as you released this. Like I think the day before I saw an announcement, and I went, okay, Greek religious iconography, deep ambery color. I'm in. And then I saw that you said something to the effect of like my bottles. I think they were going for 175 at the time. You said, guys, this ended up being way more limited than I thought. I'm so sorry. Because it's so limited, I feel bad. I'm going to make it cheaper.
Yeah.
I went, all right, this is my guy right here. So this is the cheapest one that you've sold, and it's phenomenal. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And
enough, I mean, if you're looking at, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's funny because I see this so much on fragrance TikTok. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just in the right channels, but at least the people I see it. And there's only supposedly 25 bottles, but you would think by the amount of people that have this bottle that there's way more than 25 of these things.
Well, I think you actually said, Weston, didn't you? Didn't there end up being 30?
Yeah.
So hypothetically, there's a 26 out of 25 and a 27 out of 25 out there.
Yeah, they have a line. It'll be a line and then out of 25. So the remaining, and I let them know. Like I reached out to the folks who I said I still have you're inquiring about this. I still have some extra bottles. They just have, but they're not marked. And
gotcha.
Yeah.
So okay. So if you ever see a bottle with a line, it's very exclusive.
Right. Yeah, it's the extra limited edition.
Yeah, right.
The error. It's like one of the. I was a sports card guy. It's one of the error cards.
Yeah.
You get the misprint, and it's worth 10 times more than the regular.
Yeah.
Nice strategy. I like that, Weston. So, I mean, I could sit here and talk philosophy with you all day. And again, Zach being Zach says he wants to talk about Barkley maybe, and who knows who else. But come back to your journey into. I mean, you have 3 jobs as a perfumer. Where, when, how?
Yeah. Basically the big job that the job that I work full time is because my boss smelled my initial run of Phronema perfumes and just hired me on. Basically said.
And you were entirely self-trained, correct?
Utterly self-trained. Yeah, it was the most undeserving, but actually the whole journey in perfume is basically just a repetition of the theme that I have nothing to do with my own success, and it's a mistake that I've gotten where I've gotten, because like that's my boss just reaching out to me. He reached out to me on Base Notes of all things, and like it seemed almost at first like when you got it, it seems like a scam or something, because you're like, a job offer on Base Notes is not a thing that happens to anybody ever. That's that's not a real thing.
No, it's not.
Yeah, and I did, and I worked kind of like part-time for him. I was like, basically, fuck it, I have nothing to lose. I was working part-time for him while I was working other jobs, and so it was like, might as well. and he's just an amazing guy, and he like was pleased with the work that I did for him, and so kept giving me more and more and more. And then, finally he just kind of gave me a phone call out of nowhere and said, "I want to take you on as the full-time in-house perfumer." And I just was like, I mean, I don't really, yeah, tell me when and where. I don't really care about anything else. That's like amazing.
Wow.
Especially because all the jobs that I've kind of ever worked have basically been just stuff that I've worked to the ability or to the end goal of being able to make other stuff that I already care about, like writing or music or whatever.
Sure. So when did you actually sit down and start blending? When did you start your self training curriculum?
So that would have been boy, it probably would have been either at the end of 2018 or about 2019.
That recently.
hmm Yeah, so a little bit before that, well, I'll tell you what, it might be actually a little bit older than that, because for basically the first perfume job that I ever really had, I kind of worked uh, with uh, with with Andrea from Sucrabel. She runs a really crazy independent house, kind of based on her own niche of kind of like women who are not necessarily into perfume, but are into like all the things that she's into. And so they kind of have this big community of folks over there. And I was kind of just an asshole to her online, and it was insane. She was basically just selling dupes on a fragrance group that she had made herself. And I basically just sent her the meanest message that anybody could have ever sent another human being. And she basically said, like, "Well, cool, help me to do better." And
Wow.
yeah, just like somebody I didn't deserve when I was in a space that was way worse, and just like somebody offering me some just
Incredible, man. Incredible.
yeah.
Maybe it's the universe's way of giving back to all the horrible stuff you had to go through as a kid.
Yeah. Throw me
Yeah,
a bone.
yeah, yeah, and basically, so I worked with her, and I basically had no idea what I was doing. She basically just I'd never blended anything a day in my life, and she just kind of took me on because I was a prick online. And so then I kind of did a bunch of stuff for her. I made 4 perfumes with her, I think, in the end, 4 or 5. Actually, I take that back. One of those was a grouping of 4, so it wound up being like probably 7 or 8, honestly. But
Just had this random thought. Sorry to interrupt, but you
yeah.
should name one of your perfumes "I was a prick online."
That would fit with the theme. That would go well with the house.
You know what? She and I were working on a perfume for a while. I don't know if it ever actually got launched, but it was called like Troll House or something like that. Based on basically the same story.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, she's the whole reason that I was able to kind of start my journey. And so I started blending with her, and everything that I did with her was like totally by accident of just bumbling my way through and having no idea. My wife is a chemist, so she's helpful, like in, on the other side of things, but on the artistic side of things, I was doing what I'd always done, which is just experimenting and throwing myself like at the mercy of basically the artistic medium.
Yeah.
And then about 2018 or 2019, I started work on blending natural history and monoliths and dimensions, and those eventually were done by about 2020. And kind of basically you can see the movement of my journey as a perfumer, kind of starting like this, and at some point it really just cranked up to an almost 90-degree turn.
Yeah. I mean, Monoliths and Dimensions is gorgeous. I mean, but it is, it's not as kind of challenging or complex as the later compositions. I love it for what it is. It's. I mean, that's the first sample I completely blew through. It's such a great, easy. I mean, it's like one of the creamiest, best sandalwood. What else? I mean, I feel like it's a sandalwood bomb. What else is going on in here?
There's Cambodian oud hanging out in there. There's ambergris in there. Basically, like a lot of times in my early compositions, I really was was just kind of in love with a lot of these ingredients and just said, like, how do I'm smelling these things that are so perfect to me, and you don't smell them in the world of perfumery, even in kind of like the ultra niche stuff.
Right.
So I basically just said, what do I do to get these kind of out there?
Isn't that what the theme of Monoliths and Dimensions is? It's like taking sandalwood and oud and putting them against each other.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
basically it's based on a Sun record, and their music is really just like very massive walls of sound. They play with these kind of walls of amps behind them, and so when you're feeling their music, it's like vibrating your skin while you're listening to it.
Yeah, and you're
Basically,
deaf when you see
yeah.
them.
And they have fog machines and everything. So it's like this whole experience. And basically, yeah, it was like, how do we do that in scent, and also with all these cool ingredients that I just love to death, that I feel like I'm not getting actual representation in my own collection of like other people's perfume that I'm buying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Monoliths and Dimensions, and what was the other early one?
Natural History was the other.
Man, that one.
I
That
mean,
one that holds up. I mean,
yeah, that was the first time I made really early on. I made a friend who wound up being vital to my perfume journey. Who's a deer farmer, deer musk farmer, basically. And he instead of kind of having deer killed or going out of their way to kill deer, he basically just like retains like deer musk pods from his own flock, I guess, when
wow.
they die or whatever, and just knows it's a valuable ingredient, so he sends it off to folks. And one of my good perfume buddies hooked me up with him, and kind of I got the pods and basically blew my mind at how much I loved it, and said like, I want this and oud, and I also want Tolu balsam, and I also want ylang ylang, and I want to I want a little bit of rose, and I want to just smash it up together. And so Natural History is kind of the outpouring of my first experience with this beautiful man who introduced me to the world of deer musk as ethically as possible.
Yeah,
Well,
it really. I mean, sorry, Chris. It is one of my favorite deer musks. It's outstanding. Yeah.
one reminds me more of a classic perfume. Like out of all of your perfumes, this is more feel like it has a lot of roots. Where a lot of your stuff feels more abstract, this definitely feels like it's more rooted in classic perfumery.
Yeah, and I think that's a little bit intentional too. A lot of the deviations that I take, kind of, I spin all over the world, because basically, I just kind of get hit with ideas that I want to represent that don't really have much to do with perfume, which is very strange for me. Usually, like when I'm working on music or whatever, the idea comes forward primarily as like an actual explicit sonic expression uh, of the idea just itself. Like, you know, I have this cool idea for performing this song, and here's kind of already the structure to it, and then the ideas about like what this means, and like the tonal representation, and like, you know, what the thematic character of the song is going to be. All that comes way later. But for perfumery, it's like the exact opposite for me. Like usually, like the thing about Monoliths and Dimensions, it was like having that experience and then going like, there has to be another way to try to get this across to people, because this is just, it means so much to me to be here, and this feels so organically stunning that I need to do something like this. And then you know, you play around, and really my days consist basically of playing with perfumery, you know, probably starting at about 7 o'clock in the morning and going generally until about 6 o'clock or so in the evening. And it's just like play. And when you're doing that much, it's like something cool has to happen eventually, because
Yeah.
it's too much.
Reminds me of like when I was playing guitar when I was a kid. Like, you know, that's when I was best at it, was when I would just sit there all day and you'd play, and then finally you'd be like, oh, that's cool. Let me remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
Perfume is just like that too. You know, you have to have when you're, writing a song, with a band is a bottle of perfume in itself. You know, you have the bass, you have the mid, which is like your lead and your rhythm, and then you have the vocalist, which is like your top. And it's a really cool way of taking all those components and putting it in a little bottle. So it's just another way for you to express your art in a different form,
Mm. Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, and I think I've said before, maybe on my website or something, I mentioned the fact that basically the relationships that I have are what allow me to just kind of do what I mean, not just like pragmatically, but also just like, the expression of whatever idea or whatever experience would be just pointless and meaningless if it wasn't built already on a relationship that pre-existed the item that was being created from it. So it's kind of, yeah. I mean, the same way music, you can't play music unless you're like playing music, and music's already like relationship oriented.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
has to be.
And
So
it's really interesting. It reminds me of something else you said earlier is that you woke up and you had an idea for a perfume and you went and you created it. I remember when I was playing guitar like a lot, I would actually have I would have ideas for songs and full blown songs, and like some of my songs that I wrote when I was in like high school were dreams I had of writing a song in my dream, and then I woke up and I immediately started playing my guitar and I started, working on creating that song. I'd have the spark of an idea, even though I couldn't remember everything, but it's that like attainable moment that you realize like there was something in that idea that I could use and I could like strive towards that and I could try to make that idea real. Because like you can't remember everything in a dream. You wake up 2 minutes later and you're already starting to forget.
hmm,
But there's just something in there that you're trying to capture, and it's that inspiration that you're kind of chasing after when you're creating something.
hmm, hmm. Yeah, I had a friend in high school tell me, and actually, I don't know if it's true. I didn't know if it was true at the time, what she was said, but she made it true by saying it, which is that she told me, dreams really matter to you, huh? And I said, at the time, I was like, well, Freud kind of matters to me, but that's like basically it.
Yeah.
But it wound up meaning a lot to me. Like dreams wound up becoming very significant to me, probably because she said that.
Did you ever do any analysis work?
Uh, I did a slight amount. There's a Lacanian psychoanalytic institute actually based out of St. Louis, Missouri, which is really weird. Um, but like, yeah, Lacanian analysis is kind of all I wound up caring about eventually. Uh,
I'm
uh,
not familiar with that form.
yeah, it's basically just. I mean, it's basically yeah. Lacan is basically like he's Freud correcting himself. Basically, he's like somebody who took Freud seriously and then said he also was a guy who was on a lot of cocaine and made a lot of mistakes.
Right.
So,
It never resolved his mommy issues.
yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, Lacan kind of winds up being a joke sometimes. He does something like the like. Oh, he winds up being one of those French intellectuals who's like very like very obscurantist on purpose, and sometimes it just winds up becoming like a massive bit, and you don't know if the bit is like mocking Lacan or it's mocking you, the reader. It's hard to tell.
Okay.
But he is. I think he is one of the most thoughtful psychologist that ever was. He's
Interesting. I'll have to check out his work.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah.
That's
But
cool because you're taking over the psychoanalyst side of Weston, and I'm taking on the music
The
side.
music and art. Yeah. I have none of.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
you
not
play
sure I
trumpet.
have a right side of my brain, quite
You play
honestly. So, you started in 2018-ish, roughly, with those first few compositions.
yeah,
You make this connection through bass notes. You start. I wouldn't call it formal training, but you've now got a mentor, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
and when did you go, damn, I'm pretty good at this, or holy shit, I need to probably release this or start a house, or when did it
Yeah.
when and where did the the formal career begin as an employee in the perfume world?
Yeah, I I remember I looked at my wife, and she's like just like the most supportive, just best person uh, that I know. Hence why I married her. But she she has had put up with me, like doing all sorts of art forms forever, and none of them made any money really. I mean,
Right.
uh, music and philosophy and painting and all this sort of stuff, sculpture and all that. You can make money, but it's very, very hard. And I also was still working other jobs and trying to do all this stuff. And she knew basically that, like, I was not a fan of working all the jobs that I had been working, and really working. Uh, Most jobs seemed like it was just going to be kind of a little taste of hell for me, no matter what. Um, Especially also just because, like, I mean, I'm like probably a somewhat awkward person just in general. I'm 6'8", and
Oh my God.
Oh my
I
god.
and I have stomach problems, so like I don't tuck my shirt into my pants because usually, like, I'm bloating, and like the added fabric, it's like probably an autistic thing or something, but like the extra fabric feels extra intense, and so I'm just like super sensitive. And so me and formality don't really get along, and I'm already just kind of like a weird person, so like having that going into like a lot of workspaces felt uncomfortable for me anyways. So I was composing, came to kind of the concluding forms of natural history and monoliths and dimensions. And I remember looking at my wife, and I said to her, um, I think that this can actually be two things: a business model that I can actually like do something with, that people will be able to like form a relationship around, and B, it seems like it's something that I can make money with ethically, because that was also something else that like very easily concerned me, was like the just you see a lot of people charging an arm and a leg for basically nothing, and I'm like, well, I think that I can actually decently scale a very high quality ingredients and like interesting compositions and worthwhile perfume, but without kind of like without screwing people over. And basically she said, like, why don't you try then? And
Yeah.
so I just kind of started buying the stuff to do it. We just kind of started looking at the finances and kind of moving stuff around so that we'd have kind of like a couple spare dimes going towards the purchasing of bottles initially, and then bought a 3D printer for the lids initially, the kind of spiky cap
Oh
ones.
yeah. Yeah.
Coolest lids ever.
Yeah, somebody in the chat said bring back the old bottles or even offer them at an upcharge. But people don't understand like the work, the extra dimension of work that goes into something like that. It's not just a money thing; it's a time thing.
Yeah, that's principally what it wound up being. Is the production of those lids took so much damn time, and also like the bottle design that I initially used for them had a screw top sprayer on it, which actually I still like better, but caused more problems in transit. Not a lot, but it seems like a lot compared to the zero that I experience now. So it's like such a, it was just a clear point. And more people were buying my stuff, which was really good. But like, yeah, they were $20 more, I think, than the current bottles are, because I had the price basically put up that high because I couldn't meet the demand if it was lower, and so I
Yeah.
didn't know what to do, and that felt wrong too. So then I wound up saying basically, well, the solution is to get the most boring bottle basically that I can, just put the interesting stuff onto the image of the label.
I mean, it
Yeah.
works, man. It
Yeah.
works.
It
It does. I know, again, to be completely fair and transparent, some people have complained about the atomizers, and I mean, I get that also.
Yeah.
you're one dude, and it's a super small operation. And God, the juice, people, the juice.
Yeah,
Um, so but I love the artistry. I mean, God, even the damn International Klein Blue, like you wouldn't think that would work the way that it does, and it just somehow it just fits the minimalism.
that's unreleased, right?
That's unreleased.
Yeah,
Oh, whoops,
Kelly.
sorry guys, a little flex there. Um, it's beautiful. It's the most citric thing that I've smelled from you.
Hmm. Yeah, citrus is a hard thing to. I have actually like. So the company that I work for, I do the perfume stuff for them, but then they also have a chemist who, he'll make like dry shampoo products and soaps and body wash, deodorant, stuff like that for them. And when he was formulating the dry shampoo, he asked for me to create something citric to put in that as a fragrance formulation. And that's probably the thing that I'm the happiest with as far as citrus ever goes. It's just some stupid thing that goes in a dry shampoo, and I don't
I
use
don't know,
dry.
dude. Like the St. Joseph the Hesychast Cave.
Mm,
This was like a game changer for me when I smelled this because this smells nothing like anything you've created before.
mm.
I think just primarily because of the apricot and the what else is in there? The dates.
The dates, yeah.
Yeah,
Very
it's
sweet
really nice.
and
Bear,
it
I got you on this, by the way, Bear. I'll send you some.
and
I can also send you some. I still have more of this, and I know the formula. I remember the formula too.
oh good, good. And this is also one of the more approachable fragrances
Yeah,
I
yeah,
This
it's
created.
is
true.
probably the one to start with for people if they're not into, if they don't already know they're into kind of, more heavily natural, artisanal style blending. This would be a great one to start with. Again, it's I don't have a bottle to show, but it's Saint Joseph. Well, you can't read that. Saint Joseph the
The hesitant.
Hesychast Cave.
Yeah.
Learned that word because of you. I never knew that. I've heard that word before. I never knew. You ever see a word and then try to say it and you can't say it?
All the time.
Is so annoying. And I had to do so many takes on that video because of that damn word because I kept it wrong. But yeah, I find
It is
that it's
approachable. You're right, Chris.
drilled into my brain. It is very approachable. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's immediately what I noticed about this is that it's it's taking your DNA that you have, which is very distinct in a lot of your fragrances, and it's taking that, but it's presenting it in a very different way that is like, hey, try this, and it's really really good, and I think this is totally an entry level fragrance. I mean, and if especially like monoliths and dimensions too, that could be
Agreed.
that
Yep.
would be an entry level fragrance too because it's just sandalwood and oud basically, and
Yeah.
it smells fantastic. But a lot of the other ones can be like a bit more challenging. But
Yeah.
I was just thinking too is that you could always do something like St. John and do like a very limited 25 release with the spiky caps.
It's true. That is true.
Uh, that is a thought,
Not,
and
not
just
just, not
throwing
just.
that.
Yeah, the only thing really in the Saint Joseph composition, there's a lot of real myrrh in the base there, and then there's also a civet tincture that's in there, and I think those are the only things that really would be kind of startling to some folks if they're just coming from like the
It's
world of designers or even like designer niche stuff like
Yeah.
Xerjoff or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, your house in general is not entry level. Period. Beyond the realm of designer, like there's enough, kind of niche stuff, or if people have dabbled in, like Ordo Parisi, and they find that to be like shocking, or Nasamoto, right? Then you got to kind of work your way.
Yeah.
But you do have some of these, like Chris is saying, Saint Joseph, Monoliths and Dimensions, absolutely very very wearable. Well, they're all. I'm sorry, they're all very wearable.
No, I get you. No.
Very very approachable to somebody whose nose maybe hasn't experienced some of this. And speaking of some of this, do you do you make claims, or is there the option to share in terms of natural versus synthetic in your blending. I'm always sensitive to, perfumers just have certain things that they keep top secret. So
No,
you're welcome
no.
to plead the fifth.
Yeah, no. I do both. I think both are extremely important in perfumery. I stray away from I'm not a huge fan of the kind of more conservative perfumers who are only interested in doing natural stuff, and they think that's the only acceptable thing.
Right.
Um, um, like I think among all my compositions, there are I think that it's just Saint Seraphim's stone is natural, and then I think that uh, Saint John the Forerunner is like 99% natural.
Oh
Oh
wow.
wow,
Okay.
that's impressive.
Yeah, I think those are the only two compositions that really and the Saint Seraphim stone was only intentionally done that way because it's only featuring ingredients that are found in the Bible, in the scriptures. So
They didn't talk about Hedion in the Torah.
maybe it might be a translation issue. I've looked a couple times. Yeah, so that was really conceptually, again, that was the idea coming to the forefront and pushing the perfumery kind of as the means to build the house for the idea. But otherwise, yeah, that line of reasoning doesn't hold sway with me particularly.
I
Oh,
personal. I mean, this is everybody's got their own preferences. Personal side, I really deeply appreciate that. Just as a perfume consumer, I appreciate it because it suits my tastes. So there's selfishness there. I love the way that you balance the synthetics and the naturals, and that it's about kind of the end product. I won't go off on it, but I have ranted a little bit about what I'm perceived to be happening anyway in the art, the artisan space, where it's become this kind of arms race to see who can claim, the most, salt and caboose materials crammed into a bottle, um, and it's just becoming, you know, insanely unapproachable for anybody.
It feels like some of it sacrificing the actual whole point of
yeah,
what you're trying to do is you're trying to create something that smells good. And yes, it probably smelled fantastic a couple thousand years ago when that's all you had was natural chemicals to make perfume. But
Right.
why not take full advantage of everything that you have to offer and just create the end product is your goal. It's not. But if that's what you want, if that's your like intention is like you want to be a natural house because you want to express natural formulas, then that's great. That's awesome.
Yes.
All power to
Right.
you. But doing it for the sake of just saying, "Oh, my perfume is all natural," is just okay.
Right. Or that's what makes it. Again, this is more of a personal thing here. I won't go too far on it, but I'm just really trying to come back to say how much I appreciate the way that you do things. That that there's an attitude that because it's maximally natural, it is therefore a better perfume, and that's simply not true.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And there's like obsessive fetishizing of objects in perfumery as well. That's like very frustrating because Um, like for example, if we're looking at ouds, there's some people who go out of their way to, have the most intense, like rare gem of an oud in their formula, and they think that that makes it worthwhile. But like, it's frustrating from the artistic perspective because sometimes you get these perfumes and you think, well, that would have actually been a lot better with just like a standard Cambodian oud because now you've kind of like introduced this weird element to the top of the fragrance that makes it hard for me to wear it. And it's like,
100%. Yeah.
and it's also like the best for me. My absolute favorite oud is Chinese oud.
Oh,
There's a couple different varieties that I have that I really really like, and I can't put them in a perfume because it'll ruin the Chinese oud. Because like just
oh,
so buy the Chinese oud,
yeah,
like
yeah,
that's what you want.
yeah.
Yeah, and that gets very frustrating. And also it's frustrating because some of the most beautiful ingredients that I've ever smelled have been natural, and some of the most beautiful I've ever smelled have been synthetic, and I'm not like again I'm really somebody who doesn't genuinely like a lot of the internet breeds a lot of conspiracy theories, let's say, and kind of the
Just a few.
conservative side of those, yeah, just a few. Conservative side of those sometimes has this tendency to do the little like do the like extreme natural whatever, um, and like in just even in real life outside of the internet, like I've seen those cause friends of mine to become paranoid or become disheartened with their own life because of, and it's just like, well, sometimes the natural is worse, sometimes the natural is worse for you, sometimes it smells worse, you need to augment it. Sometimes, like, I had a friend who was like going to give up on perfume, like give up perfumes and just do essential oils, and then they like get a lot of essential oils, and like some of the stuff you're like, whoa, that's really bad for you, don't don't mess
Yeah,
with that.
there's
Yeah.
someone recently had a really bad reaction that we know of. I think like he bought all these crazy like not regulated things, and he's like I don't want perfume anymore because he got so sick from wearing him and stuff. So there's a downside to it, but I feel like sometimes you like when you're talking to people like I want a perfume that's got crushed dinosaur bone, graded
Right.
and 15,000.
Megalodon cartilage.
Yeah, and I want 15,000-year-old oud in my perfume.
Yeah.
And I don't care what it smells like. I just know it's gonna have
Mm.
meteorite, dinosaur bone, and
Yeah.
15,000 oud, and that's all that matters.
Now,
So
in fairness here, because again, I want to help make sure we're being clear. Zach being the bastion of
Correct.
balance and good sense. This is, of course, true. In fact, we just interviewed a wonderful woman who is based here in Denver, Wit and West Perfumes, who does all natural perfumery. That's gorgeous, right? But to the point we're discussing, when you listen to her talk about why, it's like, well, that's just where her artistry took her. It wasn't, it wasn't a purist philosophy. It wasn't about marketing tactics. It's just like, well, some people paint in watercolors, and some people paint oils, some people sculpt, and it's like, sometimes the medium chooses you, right, and not the other way around. So definitely, it's a good point here by Zach. We're certainly not attempting to disparage all natural perfumery because
no, I mean it everything is great if as long as the end product isn't sacrificed. That's really what it comes down to. And I feel like a lot of that's thrown out there just because it is natural and that makes it better, you
Right.
know.
Yeah, and I
But
think that there's a kind of fetishization of like an object type that can be productive for art. Like one of my friends, for example, like went out of his way. He was tone crafting his guitar basically for like 15 years, as long as I'd known him, and he
wow,
finally right, and it was like amazing. He had spent like so much money and time looking for this particular amp and these particular pedals, which he modified anyways, and the guitar, and it sounded amazing in the end. But on the flip side of that, like I've had I had a keyboard, a synthesizer player friend in university who like that was just his fetish object, and he had like 6 million synthesizers, and he didn't ever make anything that was worthwhile with them. But it was awesome. You could go over to his house and he'd like pull out all the synthesizers, and he was really freaking intense and nerdy about it, and it was the coolest thing to be with him to do that. But production wise, as far as I know, he still hasn't made a damn thing, and he spent an arm and a leg acquiring this massive collection. So it's like
yeah.
sometimes, as long as the ideological like drive for your fetish object is not obscuring your ability to do something worthwhile with it, then yeah, great, that's awesome. Just like you're saying that if the journey can be beautiful.
Okay,
mhm.
because of your background in the phrasing and all of that, it leads me to ask: did you at any point begin? Uh, did you end up having a golden calf in perfumery? Did you fall down the participation mystique, to use a phrase from Jungian psychology, and find yourself like, oh my god, like this is no longer perfume. This is like these are all golden calves.
Hmm. Uh, You're
I think
talking
you'll have
about
to
like,
explain what a golden calf is because I have no idea what you mean by that.
So Weston keeps referring to this phenomenon whereby people become sort of enmeshed with an object, and even if it's not religious to them, their behavior towards it is effectively religious, where
Okay,
they imbue the object with some kind of supernatural um, presence, right? Whereby they need to seek and possess and be close to the object in order to feel at peace or find happiness.
I see. Okay, makes
So
sense.
biblical reference, the Bible, don't worship, idols, basically.
yeah, which a lot of people are really want to turn into everything under the sun I mean, in the beautiful climate that we live in the United States. I don't think you could pull a stranger off the street, and I don't think they'll have a damn clue what that means. They'll think that they do, but I don't think that they will.
Agreed. Yeah.
But yeah, the probably the closest that I've ever come to anything remotely close is Agar Ara's Perfumes. A lot of the stuff that he's put out are really just something special. I had a strong friendship with him for quite some time, and a lot of times it was just like, man, all I just need to kind of do in the morning with my cup of coffee is to just unpop one of his bottles, take a whiff, and I'm just like, I'm good for the morning. But yeah, more like a caffeine hit, I think, is just
Okay.
yeah.
You never became possessed by it.
Not yet.
Not yet. The day's not over yet.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know. There are a lot of folks that I've seen. I mean, there's a lot of especially the big oud guys do a lot of like bizarre marketing online about drinking oud in their drinks, or just wearing a full bottle or drenching themselves in it, or and it does get very like pseudo porny online sometimes. Maybe that's a bad word too. But
Okay, we're
Oh no, and we've come this far. Why stop now?
yeah.
Let's just
Yeah,
let it
I
rip
mean,
and
that
see what
stuff's
happens.
gross.
Ange says, and then the Lord turns these people to salt. Don't do it.
That was for a different one. That was for a different sin. So don't worry.
We'll definitely not bring that up on the live. They'll definitely.
Yeah. Well,
oh, no,
the looking back was about something altogether different. I mean,
true.
the turning salt was just
Yes.
yeah.
So, do you guys, Chris? Do you want to dive into any more of the scents specifically?
I mean, I actually talked about all the ones I wanted to. The only other one that I'm really liking from the newer stuff is Angel of the House.
Oh, okay.
Did you have that?
Speaking of oud, yeah.
Yeah, very, very strange fragrance.
I don't find it to be that strange. Maybe it's because I got a whole bunch of weird shit back here that, by comparison,
yeah.
This was one when I was like Chris said, it's like I know I want them all, but like you have to choose. You can't buy 10 at a time, right? Well, I can't buy 10 at a time. But this one was close to being on the first run here. Yeah, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean it's named after this really weird painting that also goes under the title of the Triumph of Surrealism is the other name for the painting. It's like this dog-like creature kind of floating up in the sky, kind of looking like a weird kite maybe being pushed around. But yeah, a lot of the kind of swirling base of the composition is a lot of again, a lot of deer musk, a lot of oud, and a lot of gurgeon balsam make up the base. There's kind of like this weird Gaiac wood I really like. It has this really strange, like smoky, kind of like pencil shavy kind of thing to it, and so I put a lot of that in the base as well, kind of with the gurgeon balsam to create this really kind of to me what feels very very surreal when I smell it. I cover a little bit of the kind of edge of it up with this kind of with the labdanum clear resin that's in there as well. But if you can kind of smell past that initial kind of sweet layer that the labdanum provides there, the kind of weird kind of smoky but like almost edible, there's something that's like very
Yeah,
close.
man. Oh,
Yeah, get that. Yeah.
Yeah,
God,
that's
that's
kind of
so good. So good. Now, wait, this one is a bit, because I know I got a couple samples here that aren't up on the site yet. That one is, though, right?
that one is,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All right. So again, everybody, we're talking about Angel of the House.
I love that.
Yep.
What's the naming? What's the etymology of that particular fragrance?
It was the painting, right? You said.
Yeah, Max
Oh,
Ernst did.
that's
But
what it's called.
yeah, the painting is called either The Angel of the House, but then sometimes you'll see it in parentheses, The Triumph of Surrealism. Other times it'll be reversed. It'll be The
Yeah,
Triumph of
yeah,
Surrealism in
yeah.
parentheses, Angel of the House.
Um,
The
David is asking, raised Catholic and love a churchy incense. Do you have a favorite? He's asking specifically outside of your house, which, by the way, I meant to jump in. Please correct us. We've been putting the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. It's Phronema.
Phronema, yeah. Phronema.
Phronema. Okay.
Phronema. Okay.
Phronema, yeah. Yeah.
We'll stop screwing that up for you now.
Yeah,
That,
we'll
no,
scratch.
that's quite all right. I'm not Greek, so I take no offense. I'm Finnish, so
Right.
we can jumble as many words as we want. It's totally fine. Yeah,
Church influence.
the church incense. I will recommend to you a very weird one, but honest to God, it's my favorite. It's the brand is actually a supplier of incense, Heyoka. It's Heyyoka, Heyoka incense. He has one called Black Sakura, and it's so cheap. It's you will laugh at how cheap it's like. It's like $20,
Was it
and it's
Heyoki? Heyo?
OKA.
Okay.
Yeah, Heyoka.
Heyoka Black Sakura.
Heyoka Black Sakura. Yeah, it's one out of two perfumes that he sells, and it is so stinking good. Like I have down on my so I have kind of like a space set up next to my icon wall that also just happens to have all of my incense and myrrh and everything set over there. Kind of just because there's not another great place for it, and I also burn incense, so that's fine. But in there, I have a baggie of kind of every available incense that you can basically find, and same with myrrh and all these other, basically any kind of weird family of incense you can find setting over there. And Heyoka's is one of the only fragrances that I would ever say smells as good as some of the best resins that I have burnt raw. And so I would really recommend anybody that's interested to give him a hand, because he also, if you want to just buy incense resin too ever for any particular reason, he's the guy. He's amazing. That man is superhumanly talented at finding stuff, and he just is the nicest guy on planet Earth too.
Cool. He's going to wake up tomorrow morning and be like, what the hell happened last night? What is going on? Sudden run on all of his supplies. And then Ken wants to know if you have a fragrance that impressed you the most.
That impressed me the most. Yeah, for sure. It was Sultan Pasha's Dewanya. It's a oud based fragrance that is like very kind of green, yet kind of like burning, green burning, like, I don't know, gasoline maybe on top somehow. It's really something. I remember when I first encountered his sample set, I tried all of his fragrances, and I was getting upset because I wanted to buy them all, of course. And that one hit me, and I was just like, that's the one. That one's amazing. And so
Sultan.
Spell it for us.
yeah, Sultan Pasha, Dewanya. It's DEW Dewanya, ANIYA. I think.
Okay.
I'm like 90% on that.
Yeah, that'll be one that's probably hard. I mean, you're not going to find that on Lucky Scent.
Yeah, he is getting. I think Now, he and I have been friends for quite some time. I think he's been talking for like 6 years, but I think it's actually going to happen about releasing actual perfume sprays. So those might become much more commercially available. He's also been being invited to everywhere. People are finally recognizing he's a genius, which is great for perfume lovers everywhere because he truly is. And he's also self-taught, and you would never know. He's one of the greatest perfumers alive, and Dewanya's just it will whoop your ass when you first smell it. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I've yet to smell a single thing from him.
Yeah, his stuff is. I was buying his stuff back. He had a eBay account, and it was really sketchy when you think about it, but it was just an eBay account where he would just randomly sell his stuff when he was composing it in little oil containers, and you just buy it, and it just come via the British Post, and it would come in these small little brown packages, and it was the greatest day on planet Earth when one arrived because it was like, boy, it was like back in the old days of finding like cool records at the record store, and it was like it wasn't online where it was like just readily available. It's like the hunt was just amazing, and this time period where you're waiting, and hopefully the U.S. Postal Service doesn't fuck it up and steal my package or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the bee's knees.
Stan wants to know if you have a favorite from your house. I think we asked about that earlier.
Yeah, the favorite from the new line, without a doubt, is No Longer Human.
Yeah,
Probably my favorite overall is probably, honestly, it's going to be either Call of the Wretched Sea, Nanonucleonic Mint Summoning.
really.
Yeah, that one's just very bizarre.
Because it's such an outlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same friend who used to wear Encre Noir wore Cartier Roadster all the time.
I love that one.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful mint fragrance. And that was the first thing that made me look at mint differently, because I was probably under the same assumption that most people are when they think about mint, is that they know it pretty well, and the couple different versions of it that you can smell, the toothpaste or the fresh herb out of the garden or whatever. And basically it struck me one day when I was doing inventory, actually, at my primary perfuming job, where I have got just an ungodly amount of ingredients. There's like 600 to 700 ingredients just in my climate controlled little storage space or whatever. And I was doing inventory, and I noticed as I was doing inventory, because the way that I keep my spreadsheets, basically, they also have like fragrance descriptors associated with each oil. But anyway, as I was filling them out, I realized how often mint kept coming up in those fragrance descriptors. And by the time I was done looking at it, I had something like 35 ingredients that I would have never guessed had an association with mint. And so I just scooped them all up and walked
That's awesome. That's awesome. What happens if I put all the mint into one bottle?
Yeah, basically, I just kept doing it, kept adding stuff and going like, oh, this smells cool, but what if we add a little bit of this? And it was over the course of maybe like a month and a half. I just kept coming back in first thing in the morning while my nose was fresh and smelling it. And
so you were either going to create a powder puff girl, or you were going to create the best mint fragrance ever.
Yeah, and I don't think I did either, but I really, really like it. It's like it's also the only fragrance that when I go to add ethanol to it, it just turns neon. And that's like the juice is like, yeah, you'll see it mellows down after a little bit. It's a little bit just like starkly yellow now, but like when you first pour the ethanol, it gets so bright out of nowhere, and it like at first it startled me, and I was like, uh-oh, did I really mess something up? And like,
do these chemicals react?
yeah, like I thought I knew what I was doing. Oh my god. But yeah, I really like that one. I really like Call of the Wretched Sea, basically because I was looking to create this color with fragrance for a long time in my mind. That was like kind of like a baby blue, but as a gemstone. If you could take like the color baby blue and make like a really pure gemstone out of it. that's kind of what I was trying to do. And myrrh is one of my favorite notes of all time. So I basically just used uh, really intense golden ambergris that I really love. Um, or white ambergris, excuse me. I think it's white ambergris and called Wretched Sea. And this, all these myrrh resinoid that I had at my home that I really loved, and I just kind of went to town, and I really wound up scratching a very particular itch for me that I was seeking to do, and so those would probably be. Oh, and the Good Shepherd. Yeah, those four, I'd say.
Yeah,
It's
is it wool? Is it wool absolute that you use in
Wool
that?
Absolute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
God, it
Wool.
smells so good. I mean, well, good shepherd. Okay, I'm having a revelation right here in this moment, Weston. Good shepherd, wool, got it. Check.
Mm, mm.
Yeah. Oh, I loved this when it first smelled.
actually for Call of the Wretched Sea. It's actually really approachable too. It's not it's not super challenging for what you
Yeah,
made.
yeah. That's because I think people are startled by the idea of ambergris, but I don't. In practice, like the two members of our shipping team, neither of them are really particular familiar with fragrance at all. And so I one day I just kind of showed them like 6 different ambergris tinctures that I had going, and each time they were just like fine with it. But like when you talk about it, people get so like freaked out about it because they think it's going to be animalic, or they think it's just like scary because it's from a whale or whatever.
Animalic at all, actually.
Mm.
That was my
Yeah,
initial thought. I thought it was going to be very animalic, but it's actually very soft.
yeah, yeah. That's the baby blue kind of, yeah, texture that I was seeking out in the. And the myrrh, myrrh is what I wind up burning a lot, just for pleasure, just because I don't myrrh. Something about myrrh, the like kind of plasticiness of it is just really the well, not plastic, latex. Latex is a type of plastic anyway, but it really is extremely soothing for me. It's just like such a beautiful, like, I understand why people used to use it to cover up the stench of death, because it's so peaceful. It's so calming. It's so wonderful. And when you add that slight vanilla like boost to it with the kind of shimmering top that the ambergris is allowed to give to the fragrance, um, the myrrh is just kind of moved to this new place that feels like transcendent a little bit to me. And that's the Call of the Wretched Sea is the only time I've ever had a weird out of body experience in my life was listening to that record. so
Oh,
so
this is another obscure music reference. I didn't realize that.
yeah, it's yeah, a German doom metal band called Ahab, which all their music is about Moby Dick, and it rules. And
This is like the nichest of nichest conversations I've ever had. I'm loving this. A German doom metal band
I actually
yeah,
know.
focused entirely and exclusively on Moby Dick music. Like, never
yeah,
did I expect to hear that sentence spoken by anyone.
Yeah, it's cool.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
yeah.
So we've come this far. From the new line, I also really enjoyed Like a Dog.
Like a
I think
dog.
this one's pretty wearable too. I mean, this is, a very woody. Um, what are the woods that I'm smelling in here? I mean, it almost smells cedary, but it's not.
Yeah. Well, there is Douglas fir in there as well, but there is cedarwood in there for sure. There's
Okay.
it's oh, what is it called now? I'm missing the first word. There's something port cedar, and it's one of the weirdest cedars that I've ever smelled in my life. And so I used it for this guy, Oxford port cedar. That's what it's
Okay.
called.
Maybe that's
And
why I couldn't place it. It's weird. I mean, like
yeah,
I said, it smells cedary, but not like it's that. Like, it's not Atlas cedar. It's not Virginia cedar. It's not Texas cedar.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the only other cedar that's really weirded me out a little bit was Chinese cedar, but that still feels pretty familiar. The Oxford port cedar, I unscrewed it when I got a bottle in the mail. I bought like a little 15 mil guy just to test it out, and I bought it and I unscrewed it. And at first, I was just like, I don't know what I could use this in. This is so strange. And I went over and showed my chemist friend and said, "What do you think this is?" And he smelled it and he was like, yeah, I don't know, something woody. It's weird.
Yeah, huh?
Perfect. That's pretty much my response too. So
It
This is,
worked.
yeah,
this is like Burberry Hero, but like a million times like the actual potency of it.
Dude, that's a great call, man. No wonder I love it. My first designer and one of my first true loves in fragrance is Burberry Hero EDP,
wow, wow.
and so this
Well,
it's which is cedar and fir.
I think
Mhm.
it's got like different types of cedar in it.
Oh, so like a dog, that one's super approachable. We did not mention another one that I think. Which one, Chris? Did you say had kind of the classic? Natural history. I get a similar sort of kind of vintage throwback vibe from Masai Aida no Tubakuro.
Yep.
Um, like it's like some avant-garde riff on Queer to Receive.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm
Exactly.
just in love with it. Absolutely in love with it.
Yeah.
Ange, you got to smell this, girl. If you haven't smelled this,
Yeah.
This is one
Yeah.
of my.
you like that one too, Chris?
Yeah, this has got rose in it, doesn't it?
It is. It is exactly as Noah described it, because that was, yeah, almost verbatim what I was thinking about when I was
Interesting.
composing it. Queer to Receive, based on basically the greatest actress of all time, and then how do I pay homage to her?
So this is an actress's name. Again, pardon my
Yeah,
ignorance.
yeah. The first two words there, yeah, Masai Aida is the original, the actual name of Setsuko Hara, who is she is the and no, tabukuro is like a way of saying her gloves, the gloves that belong to Masai Aida, the leather gloves, but it's like an old archaic word. It doesn't write.
So it's both Japanese and not just regular
He's
Japanese. That wasn't obscure enough. Archaic
Yeah,
Japanese. Okay.
he's on the bottle, right?
she's what?
He's on the bottle for
She's
that.
on the bottle. Yeah, she's from Yasujiro Ozu movies. Basically, she was his muse, kind of, and
So
he's
good.
my favorite filmmaker of all time. I took Japanese in high school. I like yeah, I grew up watching like Akira Kurosawa movies that I got from the library because samurais are cool, and then I just kind of fell down the rabbit hole of. And
Cool.
she became like my favorite person of all time. And
This is one of the most amazing rose fragrances I've ever tried. It like honestly, no one knows I had a hard time with rose. He made this amazing rose fragrance, and I'm like, can you make this better? I sent it back to him, and he added civet to it and a couple other things. But this is the first like rose fragrance that I've got that I just truly appreciated. I was like, wow, if I could smell more rose fragrances like this, I would be absolutely in heaven.
That's interesting. I mean, I see it, but my nose goes straight to the leathery accords.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I almost don't. I barely perceive it as a rose fragrance in my mind. Yeah, interesting. Ange, our friend Ange is huge collector, vintage hound as well. She's curious about what kind of rose is in this.
in this one there is a there's white rose auto, and then there is there's a Bulgarian rose absolute also in it.
Okay. Our friend Steven is asking about sample sets on the website. They're pick and choose, aren't they? Or
They
no,
are, yeah.
but you have a preset. What is it? A 6-pack or an 8-pack?
It's a 9-pack, I think.
The 9-pack.
Yeah. For $50, if you
yeah,
go buy two, like that is
agreed.
$50 for 9 samples
Yeah,
of this caliber of work is just insane.
yeah.
Even your sample price, I like for one sample vial, I think what are they, $6.99 or something like that?
Yeah, that's right.
I just bought samples from Min, New York, and a new house that I'm getting into. They were $10 for a sample. I'm like, simmer down now. Okay, that's a bit much. like $10 is starting to get to the point where you're like, that's really very expensive. But yeah, no, your stuff is just, for the level of what you get, it's just astonishing value.
You're very kind.
Um,
It says 1 mil on the website, by the way, but they're always
Ultimately,
between 2 and 3 mil bottles. But I
You
say one
jam it
mil.
in there. I've gotten bottles from you that I'm like, that is not 1 mil. That's like 2, almost 3 sometimes. But yeah.
Yeah,
um, Bear, Ange says she's going to put together a vintage rose sampler for you. See, you've done it now.
Oh no.
Louise or Lewis, sorry, Lewis, is interested to hear about truth and method. The notes. Yeah, we have not spoken in detail
What
about
I'm
truth and
saying
method.
right now, I'm just gonna ask about this because this was my favorite.
This
yeah,
one is one of the more challenging, I would say, in the house.
Yes, definitely. This one,
yeah,
a lot of people don't like this one, or they like it. It's definitely love hate.
yeah. It's also 1 out of 2 of the longest ingredient lists for the actual composition out of my house. Um, but it does. I mean, it's got a lot of Malaysian agarwood in it. It's got white ambergris in it. You've got vanilla absolute. There's Mysore sandalwood. There's one of the hardest things to compose in the fragrance was I basically saw a lot of people doing fruity oud fragrances, and I kind of hated them all, even from a lot of the oud houses that I really respect and love. So I basically just said I want to make an oud fruity fragrance that I can
Just
actually.
banana, doesn't
And
it?
yeah, that's the hardest. That was one of the hardest things for me to compose was the banana chord, um, because you wind up kind of getting 1 out of 2 things with banana a lot of times. Like either it just kind of like doesn't super smell like banana, and it smells like the kind of the banana candies they used to have, like runts
Yeah.
or something like that. There was the banana candies, and it just like is not banana-y at all. It's just like some weird thing that we've substituted for banana, and for some
Right.
reason it is.
God,
um
so good.
yeah, you do. You also get this really green uh, banana thing that I don't so much like, because I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. This is. I honestly, if you told me there was banana in here, I would never have guessed.
Yeah.
Because everything I've smelled with banana, it just smells like banana, and I don't want to smell like a banana. Sorry.
Well, part
Yeah,
of
I mean, I'm going to be bold here, and people on watching now or watching in the future are just going to have to trust that I mean this authentically. Your ability to blend oud into fragrances is as good as anyone I've encountered. The way that you do oud fragrances is just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And as somebody who appreciates the ingredient and is like, nope, I can't use Chinese oud. It's too pure. It's too like these expressions of oud are just amazing. So if you guys are oud lovers or want to get into oud, artisanal oud, this is actually these are really really well blended.
Yeah, the method is honestly was my favorite. It only was recently usurped by Hesychast. So just because I love the way you intermingle the apricot and the dates in it, it's
It
just
is
so
beautiful.
for you. Like I want to wear that in the summer because it just, to me, that sounds like that's like a summer fragrance from you.
Yeah, it is. It is really nice. They freaking all are, man. Okay, so a couple more. Now, again, I just was singing praises here, so lest people think I'm full of hot air and all of that. There is one that I couldn't wear. It was desert. It was desert water.
mm, mm, yeah,
Well,
So
was it because you couldn't wear it because you felt like you were rolling around in candy?
I well, part of it was that it made me feel like I was a pine tree
Yeah.
dripping with sap.
Yeah.
Um, it was. It's. I mean, I could. Don't get me wrong. I could come around and give it a few wearings. I'm sure, but This one has some shock value as far as pine fragrances go. Like, I noticed that you've come around and I don't think this one's available yet. Redoubt, or no, is it?
It is. It
It
Yeah,
is.
is.
that
Okay,
is.
so that one's available too. This is a much more approachable pine.
Yeah. Yeah. Without a
Um,
doubt.
I love
desert,
desert.
yeah, tell me about desert water. Tell us. And I mean, guys, it's so green it looks black.
Oh
And I'm
yeah,
telling you, that stuff sprays like pine tar. Like,
Yeah.
you could put it on a baseball bat and you wouldn't be able to drop the bat.
I love it once, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't wear this again, because I just every time I moved, I felt stickiness, and I was like, um, I just my partner always says he has this thing. He goes, "Would you rather be itchy or sticky?" And I go, "Itchy all the time." But yeah, this was the stickiest thing I've ever experienced, and I wanted to like it, and I tried to wear it a second time, and I'm like, I think this is beautiful, but it can't get past the stickiness. And you've diluted this a lot, haven't you?
Diluted, and yeah, and I filter it a lot, and there's so whatever reason I just can't seem to filter out the particulates that make it into a yeah,
Maple
chew
syrup.
yeah, territory. Yeah.
What is doing that? Is it
Yeah.
is it a fir resin or a pine resin of some sort?
Yeah, basically a lot of the composition, I would say probably about 80 to 85% of the composition is made up of resinoids of various different. I mean, there's like black hemlock, there's pine tar resin or pine tar absolute, and a bunch of other stuff that's similar in consistency. So you plump it all in, and then you have to add the ethanol and heat it up and shake the hell out of it. And
Right.
it, yeah, basically the whole thing came about because how controversial do I want it? Well, one of my favorite things early on for a while was Slumber House's Norn. I really loved the fragrance. I got the Norn like oil or whatever it was called, and
Yeah.
that became my favorite things of all time. And I really just do not like the way that Slumber House exists at all. Uh, and so I basically kind of said like, well, I've come to a point where I think for my personal tastes, not in composing, I think Josh Lobb is a brilliant perfumer. A lot of people like to get mad about his newer stuff. I think his newer stuff's just fine. I think he's a great perfumer, but I hate his business model, and I hate how it's like.
It's the worst part of artisan perfumery. I hate it.
Yeah,
Oh, there's a new release. It was at 2:07 a.m. And if you weren't, manically refreshing the site, you missed it.
yeah, yeah, and it's just like, yeah, and it's just there's a lot of rudeness to the fans of the house, and a lot of just a lot of stuff that I really don't dig with. And so basically, I said for like my personal taste, I want to make a Norn that makes me happier, and basically is more intense, because the original, I remember a lot of people originally early on were saying that Norn was inspired by Burzum burning the houses Vargvikernes from Burzum burning down the churches in
Yeah.
Norway that he burned down, and supposed to be the smell of the fire from the church and uh I really love a lot of Burzum's early music, but Burzum is Varg Vikernes is a really reprehensible figure in the
A
in
horrible
the
human being.
yeah. Also, let's maybe just move that to a beautiful holy saint who led many people to salvation, to Saint Anthony of the Desert, and we can we can guide this middle path down these two extremes that I don't really care about, and would kind of rather just try to do something else. So basically, I got a bunch of really cool resins from Heyoka Incense. I got incense from him. I got my black hemlock, I think originally came from him.
Nice. Hemlock, I love as an ingredient and as a note.
Mm, mm,
Such a
mm.
great aromatic.
Yeah, truly. Yeah. So I do know that one's very thick. I'm hoping in the future. One of my friends actually is supplying me with a a variant of one of the ingredients that I use. So hopefully it resolves the problem of stickiness, because I know that's one of its most annoying points.
Well, it doesn't bother Anne. She says desert water will be a full bottle for her.
Hey,
I mean, honestly, if you like piney and fur fragrances, it's one of the best.
It is.
I really I was like just like, man, this is so good, but I don't want to be sticky. So
I guess
it is the essence of pine, distilled into some kind of godly elixir. Um, 14 Mountains wants to know if we can talk about Adam's Lament. Yeah, we haven't mentioned that one.
Mm.
He says it's his all-time favorite vanilla scent.
Wow,
There
very
you
kind.
go.
all-time
There's a
favorite what?
really his all-time favorite vanilla scent.
Oh, vanilla. Okay.
Um, the pepper in the opening is just awesome.
Thank
Oh
you.
yeah, yeah. This is very good vanilla. I remember this.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the composition, the inspiration, all of that.
Yeah, so that's another one that gets pretty high in its natural content, because a lot of it is vanilla beans that I've sourced, and then peppercorn that I've sourced. So it's like there's pink, there's white, um, there's black peppercorn in there, and then there's like vanilla bean pods from I think 5 different locales is what we wound up settling on.
Wow.
And then there's ambergris and a lot of other things to try to help actually make it into a full composition. But basically, part of the idea initially was to create a vanilla composition that is kind of like kind of bittersweet. You don't want it. I'm tired of people thinking vanillin is the same as vanilla. It's
Yeah.
terrible. It's a blight. And uh, and vanilla by itself is just kind of close to heaven. So this idea, Adam is my patron saint, is my Christian name. This is a second name. Some people think that that's my last name. I actually have 4 names. That's just my
The two most convenient.
yeah. Yeah, and there's this beautiful traditional poem that's about kind of Adam being cast out of the Garden of Eden, in this bittersweet moment of also his children way later down the line, his great 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 grandchildren, kind of calling out to him, and all of this kind of wrapped up. Saint Silouan, the Athonite, has written kind of the best version, as far as I'm concerned, of this poem, this poem genre or style or idea. And basically the idea was then perfectly merged between those two in my mind, where it's like, well, if we want to approach vanilla from this bittersweet moment, what bittersweet moment is there more than Adam finding salvation after having lost the place in the garden? And so the kind of desert aridness of being cast out of paradise is kind of where the peppercorn kind of comes in and tries to make
Cool.
the vanilla more kind of Arabic and
Yeah.
granular.
It's such a unique combination. The way that the vanilla and pepper are juxtaposed here. Yeah, very
Nice.
cool. We got all kinds of people jumping on asking about sample sets. Cole, I love you, brother. Cole wants to know which 9 fragrance best represent. Forget it, dude. Just throw a dart, man. You'll see what I mean when you
I
smell
I
them.
would say if you want to get something challenging and unique, get what was it? Truth and Method. Definitely get No Longer Human. Also, Angel of the House is really good.
I think some of the intro ones for sure, like Monoliths and Dimensions, we talked
Yeah.
about. What, Saint Seraphim Stone?
That one's weird to me.
Yeah,
That was
that one's
weird.
no. What was the other real?
I think we said that it was the Saint Joseph the
Saint
Hesitant
Joseph.
Cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you get Saint Joseph and Monoliths and Dimensions for sure to kind of ease yourself in.
And No Longer Human too. I think
Yeah,
that's
No Longer Human, so good. And then roll the dice, baby.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, so you have more releases coming.
I do. Yeah, I do. I've got 3 more that are slated, and then beyond that, I have an additional 2 that are going to be coming down the road. The problem is that I compose things that I like without really thinking about how much I'm onslaughting poor people
Right.
out there. And I wouldn't necessarily be like super happy that I would be like if I was a fan of the house and not in the house, I wouldn't necessarily love that I do that. But I like am I I mean I kind of just when a perfume's done, it's done, and I don't want to just kind of sit on it forever.
Yeah.
So I've got 3 coming up. One is called Fast and Bulbous, which
We
is
do have samples of that. That one's funky.
yeah,
That
that
was
one's very
That
weird.
one got some bite.
Mm,
There's a whole lot of civet cat happening in there.
yeah, there is.
And what are the other ones?
Yeah, then the second one is one called Here Comes Everybody.
Oh God, that one's so good. Yes, we did talk about it, but that one's really good. That's
Mm,
going to be my next one.
mm. Yeah, that was kind of that one. It's like at the center of it. It's kind of a honey fragrance, but it's like basically if you wanted to turn honey into a kind of like a dangerous treat from the Middle East, maybe.
Cool. I love that.
Uh, yeah, and then the last one that I've got coming out is called "Waiting to Hold You."
this one. I have that.
There it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
I got that
Bottle
one.
right.
I got that one in the with the bottles. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
This is really nice. This is very oud centric.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That one.
Where's this oud from?
So yeah, I've got 5 different kinds of oud actually in there. Yeah, there's
Oh.
Cambodian oud, there's Thai oud, there's Malaysian oud.
Is there an Assam oud in here?
Is that what?
Is there any Assam oud?
No.
No. Interesting. Okay.
But most of the composition is you're right. Yeah, kind of centered around kind of presenting oud
God, so
fully.
good.
It's actually, I mean, this is the first time I've ever spoken about it publicly in any regard. So it's dedicated um, to one of the most beautiful men on planet Earth who welcomed me into the faith. He wrote a screenplay for a movie called Waiting to Hold You that will probably never get turned into. You can read it for free on his website, or
Oh, cool.
so if anybody's interested, and you just Google "Waiting to Hold You" by Cormac, Cormac, and then the last name Jones. Really, really an amazing screenplay. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever read, and it's just I think it's a lot like. In a lot of ways, it's like close to my favorite filmmaker of all time, Ozu, who I mentioned earlier. It's like one of these films that is everything happens but nothing happens kind of thing. And it's just like the subtlety of his craft is really just something else. I really wish someone would sponsor his works.
Well, maybe if we buy enough of his perfume, the perfume named after him.
What about the one I have, Noah? Is that one coming out?
Which one?
The blue one.
I don't.
International Climb Blue.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not releasing that one, are you?
It's not right now. I don't have any plans to release it. But basically I was telling Noah earlier, it's that it was my boss was kind of asking me to create kind of a certain project at my primary job, and I sent him something, and he basically said, what happens if you kind of take the training wheels off? What happens if you go nuts? And I did that, and then I sent it to him, and he said, this is amazing, and asked me for the cogs on the product. And he quickly, I think, realized that would be impossible to sell. But he told me to do it, so I was like, all right, I'll do it.
It's a gorgeous citrus. I mean, it's like rindy and oily, bright, but there's all of this. I mean, again, look at the color on this. There's all of this kind of deep, dark, ambery quality underneath it. It's really lovely. Yeah, Chris, I'll hook you up. And then the other one, which is come on, camera, for God's sake.
Disintegration loop 1 point.
Disintegration loop one, is it 1.1?
Yep.
So again, this is I mentioned this offhand, and a bunch of people were like, "Oh my God, is he a fan of some obscure band?" And I'm like, I don't know. So this is another obscure musical reference, which I didn't understand. I just know that I'll just say my piece and then let you talk about it. For people who love Amouage, and the now, pardon the pun, the now mythical Mythspan is their chrysanthemum-centric fragrance that has become mythical. It's discontinued, hard to find, expensive. If you guys love Mythsman, or you want one and can't find one, or I have both, they're not redundant. This is one of the most beautiful chrysanthemums.
Wow.
It's better than Mythsman, I'll tell you that much. It is so like bright and clean. Okay,
It is.
I'm done. Tell me about Disintegration Loop.
Yeah, William Basinski is the musician behind it, Disintegration Loops, and they're kind of like a reaction. Actually, he made a movie about it too, but it's basically a reaction to 9/11, where he was in an apartment building and saw the planes and the smoke rising. That's what it is on the bottle, and he filmed it and composed this beautiful like tape loop that kind of like breaks apart as you listen to it, and it's soothing and it's sad and but yeah, this is exactly like you said, chrysanthemum, orris butter through and through. Iris palladia is actually in there too, but in the note description I just attribute that to orris butter. There's like frankincense and tobacco absolute and labdanum leather. There's elemi and juniper is on the top. That's kind of what is giving you that chrysanthemum. Yeah,
that's sparklingness.
Yeah. The kind of like peppery lemon pepper deal that elemi can do when you add juniper to it. It almost acts like the aldehydes in some of the kind of classic women's compositions, where it gives this kind of like effervescent sparkle over the top. And that's kind of basically like I don't remember. There's a really famous perfume, and I'm gonna forget what it is. Maybe it's De Profundis. That's supposed to be like flowers on a tomb or something like that. Flowers on a graveside. I think that's Serge Laton's De Profundis, but it might be something else. And it's this idea that you see in perfume a lot, where it's like the idea of like something really tragic being invoked by kind of a somber set of flowers. L'Air Bleu does the same thing, right? And like that's never worked for me. I've never hit anything that's like that, but I love the idea so much, and I think that's such a cool idea. And chrysanthemum, it gives that impression to me just smelling it in and of itself. So I basically just tried my hardest to reflect upon Basinski's music, which is again a reflection on 9/11, so it's already tragic, and then tried to compose a floral thing. So I had my headphones on when I was listening to the music and was just trying to kind of take that kind of like softly floral, like herbal greenness thing at the base, and then lift it up into kind of into tears, kind of almost.
This is actually really approachable too.
It is. Yep. I sprayed, so a buddy of mine was over earlier. He's not a frag guy. He's getting in a little bit here and there. He actually loved a Disintegration Loop and nanonucleonic mint summoning.
Wow.
He was like, he's like, wow, I got to get me some of these. So, this is wonderful. And again, you're obviously a very humble guy. You won't take comparisons, I know, the wrong way, but there were several that you several of your works that I smelled, and it immediately evoked. Can't see it from that angle, but my older Amawajas. It was
Wow.
like, which is my favorite niche house. Their older stuff. Middle Eastern, incensey, deep, resinous, bold. Pushing the boundaries. And there were a couple of years I spent. I went, God, it evokes something like old school Amouage, but just like to the nth degree, and done with without the concern for the price per kilo that we were talking about earlier. So again, to help people kind of have some context and a frame of reference maybe for what kind of work. If you can start with old, challenging, vintage Amouage and think about what would that be like if it was more natural smelling and spared no expense. That's going to kind of, to me, that gets you in the ballpark.
And that brings up something I wanted to make sure I pointed out, is that that's one of the best things about your house is they're affordable and they're almost all readily available. I don't think
Yeah.
anything goes out of stock. I mean, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I'm sure like it, but you don't seem to create that product scarcity that some brands do just on purpose. Like, or if it's there, it's just, maybe it's your house is just slept on a little bit too much. I don't know, but everything just is there, and it's some of the best stuff out there. And like people always say, like they want these really really hard to find, super expensive things, but you have all of these things
right there.
here that are so good and so readily available and so affordable too. And
Yeah.
it's definitely one of the things I love about your house is that it's definitely on the high end, but you're just like, your perfume is humble in the way you're humble. You know what I mean?
That's a good call.
So,
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up, really, because truly that was one of the things that that was one of the things early on that I really hated about a lot of the other perfume houses that I was experiencing, because they a lot of times I'll see people hide behind some ideas that, like, well, the ingredient is no longer available. And a lot of times, like, I think, I'm sorry, in most of the cases where that's said, I think if you're a good enough perfumer, you can figure it out. Like, you don't have to fuck the people who got you, like, uh where you are, just because, like,
Yeah.
you're having a difficult go of something. And like you said, people purposely do that all the time. They purposely have business models that are predatory and set things up to take advantage of people. And I, like, ethically, I'm not a fan of that. And then also, at the other end of things, as just a fan of perfume or a fan of whatever other stupid things that I like to spend time on, it sucks. Nothing sucks worse than being like, oh, I really like this cool thing that I've just encountered. I'd like to go support it. And then they're like, no, screw you. I've purposely set up a system that's
Yeah.
going to try to harm you in a way
Right.
that's not
Yeah.
that's not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, thank you again, Weston.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, anything else, Chris, that's on your mind before we let this gentleman?
I know. So I just wanted to say that, and I know you didn't want to do a giveaway, but this was totally too consequential to this. So I am actually giving away. I had a 500 follower giveaway, so I had a bunch of samples from your house that I'm giving away. So if you guys follow me on TikTok, you could win like Redoubt, or this is a discontinued. How do you say this one? Melinos.
Manelos, yeah.
Melos. 3 landscapes.
Big Landscapes is another good one.
Desert water, if you want to be sticky, and Saint Moses the Ethiopian, which is another new release. And if you're okay with it, I mean they are coming out, but
Yeah, that's fine.
Here Comes Everybody and Fast and Bulbous, which is by far the most hilarious name out of all of your perfumes.
It's a Captain Beefheart reference, actually, to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
back to the very start of our conversation. Yeah.
You guys are a trip. Yeah. So okay. So follow the bear. Anzac Bear is the handle.
Yep.
Um, and if you stuck around this long to learn about that, congratulations. You're in on the.
Congratulations. You
Yeah.
should bring some just for that. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was really.
I'm not giving any mine away, so you guys go buy samples. Chris is much more generous than I am. I'm hoarding this stuff.
Yeah, you definitely are a hoarder. So
Yeah, I am. Cool. Weston, thank you, man. God, I could just sit here. I know Chris is, the same. We could sit here and chat with you for hours. Well, let's do something again. When the new stuff comes out, or when you want to get the word out again, because I think, well, I don't really care what other people want. I would love to just hang and chat again. So, and
You're very kind. I'm
if
happy.
others want to join, they can.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. This has been really fun. Very, very cool talking with you guys.
Yeah.
it was a pleasure meeting you, and thanks for hosting us, Noah.
Yeah. Thanks for setting it up, Chris.
No
Yeah.
problem.
All right. And good night and love to everyone on the stream. Have a